Barack Obama addressed the U.S. Congress in his State of the Union speech on Tuesday. In the speech, Obama reiterated his foreign policy objectives.
We will continue to hunt down terrorists and dismantle their networks, and we reserve the right to act unilaterally, as we have done relentlessly since I took office, to take out terrorists who pose a direct threat to us and our allies.
He also declared an end to the financial crisis and pledged economic policies to benefit all Americans. Our White House correspondent Jessica Stone now joins us with the latest. Thanks for joining us, Jessica. First of all, in the speech, what stood out to you in terms of U.S. foreign policy?
Well, one of the few countries, Nathan, to be mentioned by name during the speech was China, and Obama actually singled out the Beijing climate change agreement, saying that that promised reductions of two powerful emitters would have a big impact on this global security issue. He also reframed the negotiations for the Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Agreement in the Asia-Pacific as a way to keep China from writing the trade rules in the region. Now, on Cuba, there was another very emotional moment when President Barack Obama recognized a man by the name of Alan Gross. He was just released from 5 years in captivity in Cuba, just as the U.S. announced it would normalize relations with that country. And on Iran, there was this direct appeal. We've heard it from the U.S. president before. Write to Congress, don't pass additional sanctions against Iran, he asked. I can tell you, though, based on conversations with House Republicans and Democrats after the speech, that many on both sides of the aisle are really ready to pull the trigger on further sanctions.
What did he leave out, though, in terms of foreign policy? Because he didn't mention Nigeria, Boko Haram, or even al-Qaeda.
That's true. We really didn't hear much about al-Qaeda other than that terrorism remark that he made there that we just used the soundbite from. He didn't mention the Paris attacks. There was a commitment to root out terrorism wherever it's found, even through unilateral action, as we just heard. But we also didn't hear anything about that fight against Boko Haram specifically, or anything else going on in northern Africa. In fact, the only mention of U.S. policy on Africa was a request for more funding to fight Ebola.
What about domestic issues, Jessica? He had this theme of bettering the lives of middle-class Americans. Can he do it?
Well, it's going to be very tough because it's not a shared value that the Republican Congress has, at least in terms of the approach. And this has been a theme that this White House and this administration has pounded for the past few years now, Nathan. Much of his policy proposals, of course, had already been previewed over the past 2 weeks. 2 years free college tuition for hardworking students. That's likely dead on arrival. Tax increases on the wealthy to provide tax breaks for the middle class, to pay for things like child care and retirement savings, equal pay for men and women, another call to raise federal minimum wage, which of course that was in last year's address and that has gone nowhere federally. I think a distinct moment though at the end really was that he finally acknowledged the new Republican majority in the U.S. Congress in really a more tangible way. In the past, Obama seemed to more promise to listen to Republican proposals, but last night he actually encouraged a civil debate on the issue, saying, quote, a better politics isn't one where Democrats abandon their agenda or Republicans simply embrace mine. Now, some of the Republicans I spoke to afterwards acknowledged that moment and were a little bit encouraged by it, but they also said that the president had already issued multiple veto threats before giving his speech, and they didn't think that helped create a bipartisan spirit. Nathan.
Jessica Stone, our White House correspondent, thank you very much.